It is crunch time, to say the least, in Washington as UK and European leaders arrive at the White House to support President Zelensky as he meets President Trump. Joining us now is Health Minister Stephen Kinnock. Stephen Kinnock, thank you very much for joining us. This is an unprecedented moment. The European leaders met yesterday and within 24 hours, each of them have decided, as well as the head of NATO, to go out to the White House. We've never seen anything like this in modern history, other than sort of G7, G8, NATO-style meetings. Bearing in mind that President Trump seems to be reiterating the Putin side of this, which is there will be no place in NATO for Ukraine, and Ukraine may have to accept that they're going to have to give up Crimea. What exactly will Sir Keir Starmer be trying to achieve here?
Well, I think our Prime Minister is going to Washington with our European partners and allies with some very clear objectives in mind. One is that nothing can be agreed about Ukraine without Ukraine at the table. Ukraine's territorial integrity is a matter for President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. Secondly, that we have to be clear that any deal that's done needs to be backed up by a cast-iron security guarantee. President Putin has a long history of violating international deals and peace treaties, and so we realise that the only way to keep Putin at bay is to have this really strong security guarantee. And the other is that Ukraine's partnerships with organisations like the EU and NATO, again, that is a matter for the Ukrainian people, and I think our Prime Minister and European leaders will be saying that to President Trump.
When you say deal, so are the UK willing to accept that maybe Ukraine will have to give up some of its land to Putin and Russia? Are you saying that could be part of the deal?
We are saying very clearly that any deal that is done must be supported by President Zelensky, by the Ukrainian government and by the Ukrainian people. Once that agreement is reached, our job as Ukraine's partners and allies, who have always stood shoulder to shoulder with the Ukrainian people, and let's not forget that thousands of Brits opened their hearts and their homes to Ukrainians fleeing the Russian aggression and brutality, that we are very clear that once an agreement is done, that agreement must be supported by President Zelensky. Our job is then to guarantee it with a strong force on the ground that sends a very clear message to President Putin that his days of violating international agreements are over.
Are we worried about putting UK soldiers on the ground there? Is that a real sort of... That's a big move, isn't it? That is putting our troops on the ground. Do we have the resources to do that? Are the people in the UK, people at home watching now, are they going to have to feel the pinch on that? I mean, if we're going to have to start increasing the amount of soldiers we have, and surely that's going to be a big cost to the country, isn't it?
Well, the deployment of British armed forces is a huge decision for any Prime Minister and for any government. But our Defence Secretary, John Healey, has said very clearly that if there's going to be an ironclad security guarantee, that has to be one that is credible and that is robust and sends a very clear message to President Putin that he's not only dealing with the hugely impressive Ukrainian armed forces, who, of course, Putin thought he could waltz into Ukraine and take Kiev within a matter of days, and he was pushed back by the Ukrainians. He got a very, very bloody nose. He would not only be up against the Ukrainian armed forces, he would be up against an international deployment that would be supporting the Ukrainians. The details of that, it's far too early to say what that would look like. I certainly can't sit here and preempt what the agreement looks like and what the force would look like. But as I say, our Defence Secretary, John Healey, has made it clear that the United Kingdom would play an active and make an active contribution to that security guarantee.
Now, of course, Mr. Kinnock, you are Health Minister, so let's talk some health. You are very proud of improvements in diagnostics, these critical centres, some 100 of them, that makes access and early diagnosis easier. Of course, that's great. But it's only one half of the problem, isn't it? Early diagnosis only works with early treatment. And we know that waiting lists actually rose by 10,000 in June. And when it comes to cancer treatment targets, they are still being missed.
If that point on waiting lists, if you look at the average for waiting lists in June over the last 10 years, they average increasing by 30,000. They did increase this June, but only by 9,000. So that shows that we are year on year making inroads. But overall, we've got the waiting list down by 250,000 since this government came into office. And we've smashed our targets in terms of elective appointments. We said we'd deliver 2 million in the first year in office, and we've delivered almost 5 million. So we are making progress on the backlog, on the waiting list. On the community diagnostics.
What about that, actually? Because I know you're going to come on to the other point, but there is some concern about the figures of waiting lists coming down. Hospitals, accusations from experts, there's hospitals are being paid incentives to remove people from waiting lists, £33 per patient. Experts say there's a lack of transparency around why patients have been moved or whether that they have been treated. Is this a sleight of hand?
We don't recognise that at all. 85% of the reduction in the waiting lists is because of additional activity that we have invested in and that we've delivered through the massive ramping up of electives. And of course, the community diagnostic centres play an important part of that. The remaining 15% is about validating the data and being clear that there are sometimes people still registered on a waiting list who don't actually need to be on there because they've had the treatment or, in fact, the issue has been resolved or they've been treated in the community, whatever it might be. So there's a cleaning up exercise around the data, but we are clear that the vast majority of the reduction is because of the additional activity that we have invested in and ramped up since July 2024. The community diagnostic centres play an absolutely vital role in that. We're really pleased that we've got to 100 now that are open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're embedded in your community. They're in shopping centres or perhaps the local university. I went to open one in Solihull a few months ago, and it's great to see MRI scans, CAT scans, any kind of diagnostic really helping to speed up access and improve outcomes.
Can we just ask you a very final thing about your father, Lord Kinnock? He's come out with a very bold statement, actually, which a lot of people will be considering this morning. We debated it earlier. The idea of a wealth tax. I mean, he thinks that we should start putting a tax on the very top 1%. Now, when you're talking about the national health and the more money you desperately need in the health service, we're talking about going to war potentially with Russia. We need more money in military and defence. He's got a point, hasn't he, that maybe the wealthy do need to contribute more. And would you agree with him?
Well, of course, the budget is coming in October. And the Chancellor is the key person on the budget, working closely with the Prime Minister and the rest of the Cabinet. And it's really important to not have speculation about what may or may not be in the budget, because I think it's better that we focus on taking those decisions
are you
that are right for the economy. Are you saying your dad was wrong to speculate and to offer his thoughts on this? You've invited me onto this programme as a government minister, and I speak this morning on behalf of the government. And what I'm saying is that the key decision makers on the budget are the Chancellor, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet in the round, and nobody else will be making those decisions. But he's an experienced former elder statesman. He'll know, and he'll be thought of this. It'll be a considered decision that he's made.
Support.
And he's got a lot of support.
With him or
it's very much
or
a
not?
Labour policy, isn't it? Tax the rich.
Well, as I say, you've invited me onto this show as a government minister. I'm the Minister of State for Care. I've told you about our community diagnostic centres, which we are delivering thanks to the decisions that the Chancellor made in the October budget, with an additional £26 billion to invest in getting our NHS back on its feet and fit for the future after 14 years of failure and incompetence on the part of the previous Conservative governments. I'm really pleased that we're making progress. We are investing in our public services. Of course, every decision that we make about spending and investment and taxation has to be taken in the round. And that is the job of the Chancellor and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. And in October, we'll be setting out how we're going to continue to invest in our public services, grow our economy, and fix the mess of the 14 years of incompetence.
Thank you very much. We'd all love to know what you'll be texting your dad later on WhatsApp, but
I'm sure you would.
Fathers and sons.
Dad, did you have to today of all days?
Great to chat to you this morning, though. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.